Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great Wednesday wherever you are in the world. My name is Sarah Fairclough, and I'm the Business Administrator for our Platform Solutions team here at Smart Simple. Today, I'm joined with Mark Bridger, who is our Design Team Lead, who's going to be going through the November 2021 upgrades, doing an overview, going to be walking you through the wiki. So just a couple housekeeping items before Mark dives in. We are recording this session, and we will be posting the recording on our YouTube page, as well as sharing the recording with anybody who registered. As well, we are going to do a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to post your questions throughout. Mark always loves lots of questions, and we like to hear from you and your feedback. We just won't be answering them until the end. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Mark. Thank you so much, Mark.
Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. This is the November 2021 upgrade. I'm going to our wiki, wiki.smartsimple.com. That's where I'm going to start. Everything that's in the upgrade, we list here. And if I scroll down, you can see the dates of all of our upgrades so that it's never a surprise when these upgrades happen. And depending on their hosting package and where you're located, those dates are a little different. Different areas get it at different points. Your backup usually gets updated at least 2 weeks prior. If you haven't watched it already, there's a 5-minute video that we do just to kind of go over the highlights for anyone who can't attend something like this. And without any further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to start talking about the things that happen automatically, the global system updates. So these are things that just automatically happen. As Sarah had noted, please just, if you have any questions, just start typing them in. And as soon as I'm done going through this, we'll have a question and answer period where it'll take as much time as needed to answer any of your questions. The first thing is the header. So we used to have 2 styles of header. There was this classic style header, and now we have a compact style header. In this upgrade, everyone will automatically get switched over to the compact style. This is the only style we'll be supporting going forward. If you've noticed before in the classic style, you had the language, which is now here, the privacy, which is now the lock down here. And this is the user menu, which appears underneath here. So again, you can see here's the privacy and security is now there, the notifications. And the notifications, this is things like your password's expiring in a few days. Those notifications will show up underneath there. And then this is the user menu. If you had some other user menu links up here that you wanted to show down here, you can easily add those if you want them to have high visibility. But again, the classic style header automatically gets switched over to the compact style header in this upgrade. The next thing I want to go over, and this is something for global administrators, is that previously with global administrators, we just automatically showed you a whole bunch of links in the menu icon, okay? Every other user in the system had role-based permissions to control these, but the global administrator got them no matter they want them or not. So in this upgrade, we're making it more secure and more standardized, where we're going to enforce that role-based permission, even if you're a global system administrator. So if you're a global admin and you don't have a role that has permission to see these links will disappear on you in the upgrade. So what I wanted to show you right now is how you make sure that you can keep seeing them. All right, so if I come in here to my menu icon, I can see here's my links, right? So if I want to make sure I can enable them, I go to Global Settings, Security, System Feature Permissions, and you have a tab here called Menu. So this controls what's going to show up under here. Okay, now I have, actually, before I'm going to back up one more second here, just to give you a little more clarity. So just to show you what I'm talking about when I say global system administrators. All right, if I go to my profile here and I go to Actions, I'm going to edit my roles and access. When I talk about global administrators, I'm talking about a special type of user right here that have this toggled on. It's not just a normal user. These are users that have a more robust ability in the system. So that's what I'm talking about when I say global administrators. Typically, there's only a few people that would be a global administrator in your system. All right, so now that we've established that, so if I go to this menu icon here, you can see all the different things that could show up in that menu icon, and you just pick the roles that you want to be able to see those items. Now, there's an even easier way to do this. If you're like me, and I have a role I call system administrator that I give to all my global administrators. And if you're like that, you can do this. There's this role-based entry mode up here, where if I click on that, and I click on my system administrator role, and maybe you don't have one, maybe you want to make a new one for global administrators. Then I come in here to the menu, and I can just check on or off whatever I want and save it. And that's all you have to do. You just pick what you want and save it. And then that way, after the upgrade, you'll ensure that you still see things like your organizations and people searches, those kind of links. So once again, just go to the menu tab, and for the role that you are giving your global system administrators, make sure you check off the things you want to be able to see. And this might be a good time to even go and look through and make sure that you still want to see everything that's in that list. The next thing I want to talk about is our search. So previously with the search, and you can see the old search here, you didn't see what types and statuses that you were filtering on. You had to click into the search before you could pick the columns or the type of the status. So in this upgrade, what we did to make it a little easier, especially for newer users to the system, is we brought the search onto its own line. And now we're showing all the different criteria that you're searching on. So whether I'm searching on just one type, or I'm at all type, whether I'm using status, if I have a personal filter on this, you can see all of those options right up front. So instead of hiding it underneath the search, you can see it right away. So hopefully that's a little more intuitive. The other thing too, I can pick all my columns here. Now, in addition to that, previously we had a downward caret here. It's like an arrow points down, and that would bring in the advanced search. So the advanced search toggle has moved over here. So now what I do is I click on this icon here, and that brings in my advanced search. It works the same way as it always has. You just toggle it on and toggle it off from this location. Okay, so that's a really big change that came all over the system. So in all your lists will have this newer search, except for the ones in the portal. But your UTA list, your custom field list, these kind of things will all have this newer style search criteria, which is exposed your statuses and filters. The next thing we've done is with Smartcheck Validation. So maybe I'm filling in an application and I go to submit it and I forgot to fill in a field, or maybe I didn't meet a specific criteria. So it gives me a warning message. So the warning messages used to cover, they used to obscure content below them because they were floating. So in this upgrade, what we've done is we've changed the style slightly, but we put it right underneath the field, and it kind of slightly moves things down a little bit. And this is just so it doesn't obscure any content. So it's a much, we think it's a much nicer experience now. And again, we won't obscure any content. So that's just a minor change to your Smartcheck validation when you submit forms and an application. The next thing we've done is we've added a new scheduler. This new scheduler is a little more robust. And I'm going to show you, it's in a few different areas we've put it, in the autoloader, the reports, and archives. I'm going to show you it in reports. So if I go to a report, and let me just grab any random report. So here I am in a report. I'm going to go to the export, and I'm going to go to schedule export. And right here, I'm going to pick schedule. So now when I schedule my export, I have much more options here. So I can say, let's say I want it in the first month and the 6th month to run. I want to run the first day, and I want to run the 15th day, and I want to run it at 2 a.m. in the morning. And then I can pick a start date where it says, okay, I want to start this in 6 months from now. So this is the newer scheduler, which you'll see there. Now, if you have an existing report that has been set up with an export, you won't automatically get the new scheduler. New ones will, but existing ones won't. There'll be a toggle here where I can turn it on and start using the newer scheduler. If you do turn it on, just have to remember what you would set for your schedule, because you have to re-enter that. It won't automatically migrate over. So new reports will get the new scheduler. Old reports, you can toggle it on and then re-enter your criteria here. Now, something else to note is that when you are scheduling these things, it wasn't always evident. If I said it's going to run at 2 a.m., is that going to be 2 a.m. Mountain Time, or is that going to be 2 a.m. Eastern, or wherever you're located? So what we've done is we've added here to let you know that it's based off the server time, which may not be the same as your personal time on your computer. So when you're saying 2 a.m., you can just look down here and see, and you'll even see down here once I've saved this, when it's scheduled to run next. So that way it gives you a little more clarity around when this is actually going to run. So those are the major changes that are going to happen automatically. For minor changes, we've added a failsafe to workflow emails. So let's say I've got a workflow that I've attached the status on users, for example, and someone changes a bunch of users into that new status. In the background, that workflow is going to fire off an email to let all those people know something. Well, maybe somebody changed that in error and we didn't mean to send that email out, well, previously that would just go out. As soon as you change that status, that workflow would fire, those emails would go out and you could email everybody. So what we've done is, as a failsafe, and it's optional here, but if I go to global settings, communications, I can now set an email queue limit. So I can say, hey, if any workflow is going to fire more than like 500 emails, I want to put it on hold and I want to manually say, okay, yes, go ahead and send this out. So this is an option here where I can set a limit and say, hey, more than a certain amount of emails, I want someone to manually look at this and approve it before they get sent out. Because that's a background process that was just going to automatically happen. Now, if I do have a workflow and this does happen, I can pick who I notify. So right here it says, okay, who's going to be notified that there's emails sitting in queue waiting to be sent. And then what I can do is I come up here to the message queue and I look at on hold, and this is where they would show up. Now, if they're there and they show up, I would check the box and that would select them all. And then there's a button that would appear here where it tells you can either send them or you can delete them. So that's a fail-safe for automatic workflow emails. Now, something to keep in mind is that that's just the workflow emails. So like things like password resets and stuff are not going to be stopped by this. They're still going to continue to go out. It's more those workflow emails that are set up to email large amounts of people. The next thing we did was with the file upload field. You can see here is the old one and down here is the newer one. We just kind of cleaned it up a bit, added an icon. We've made it so that the allowed file types are all uppercase, there's nicer spacing, and just kind of improve the interaction around that. Now, something else we did, and this is optional, is we added a new description field. And this is only for non-media library type file upload fields, but I'm just going to show you it right now. So I already have something here, but I'll just take it out and I can save it. So here's a file upload field. When I upload that file, either once it's uploaded or as part of the upload process, I can come over here and add a description if I want. And then I can save that description. And I can even make this field mandatory. So again, this is optional, but if you want people to put some type of narration around their file upload fields or some type of description or explanation, you can do that. So I'm just going to show you how that's done. So again, this is an upload multiple file storage field. And if I come down all the way here, you can see we have a new option called enable description on uploaded files. So if you toggle that on, then you get that description field. If you don't toggle it on, everything's the way it was before. Also, if they want to, I can say, make this mandatory, in which case, when the person tries to submit, just like any of your other validations that we were talking about earlier, it'll highlight and say, hey, you need to put a description on this. We need to know what this file is all about. The next thing we did was we add the ability to import notes into Autoloader. So if I come in here to my Autoloader, and I have an example here, you can now see, for example, that I can add notes. So maybe I have a whole bunch of organizations and I want to add a note to them. Maybe they're no longer in good standing or there's something I want to let people know about. I can use the autoloader to come in and add notes to those organizations this way. Now, the thing to note is that the notes are only new notes. It's not going to update existing notes. It's not going to remove notes, but this allows you to create new notes for the organizations and other areas that could want to benefit from notes. So those notes will also only be editable by a system administrator as well. So just something to note. All right. The next thing is for our system security. And this is just a minor visual change, but when we're doing the system security and the security matrix for users and organizations, you would see a red X if there was nothing configured against a role. It didn't mean there was something wrong. It was just there was no permissions configured against that role. So instead of the red X, you're going to now see kind of a gray circle to let you know that there's been nothing configured against it. So it's a minor change, but just letting people know. For hashtags are a way that you can self-classify different records in your system. You can let people who aren't system administrators come in and create hashtags and then hashtag their own records, for example, and then you could search on them. For the hashtag feature, we have what's called the hashtag library. So I'll go to global settings and I go to the hashtag library and I can see all the hashtags in use in the system. So this isn't new. We've always had this, but what we did add was the ability to add hashtags directly from here. So instead of adding them through the records on the files, we can add hashtags right here. And also the other thing we did is it wasn't always obvious that the use count for hashtags only updated daily. So we put a message here right beside the button, which I can use to manually refresh my use count in case I want to see more up-to-date use count on those hashtags. For quick edit, so here's a feature that that I don't know how widely used it is, but let me show you because it could be handy to a lot of people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to custom field list, and on my custom field list we have this button called permission quick edit. So instead of going to each record individually and changing some permissions on it, what I can do is if I click this, I can see it in a matrix style. So here on the left, I see all my custom fields, and this is by role right now. I can look at type or status, and then I can see across the board all the roles. So here's my custom fields, here's my roles, and I could do, for example, who do I want to allow view to see this? And I can do it this way and then apply it. So it's a way of seeing it in kind of a matrix, a different way of seeing the permissions that are applied. And this isn't new, but it's maybe not as widely used as it might be. But what we did change is that we add the ability to copy and paste. So for example, let's say I have one role and I made a new role, and the role is very similar to an existing role. I could copy those permissions and then paste them into the new role and then make those minor modifications and save. So this could really save some time, and it's also a nice way to see things in a different matrix format. The autocomplete. All right, so we've always had the autocomplete field as well. But let me just show you here. So previously, when we have an autocomplete field, so typically you use radio buttons for small amounts of information, maybe 5 or 6, and or check boxes when we're doing things like that, or maybe use a drop down if you have maybe 10 to 20 items to pick from. But when you start getting a really large list of information, like maybe all the cities in North America or something like that, you really don't want to have a drop down, have people scrolling through these things. So in those kind of scenarios, we use the autocomplete custom field. Now with the autocomplete custom field, previously you would click into it and you would start typing, and it would show you the things that you might be looking for, maybe the cities across North America. But sometimes you may not even know what you're searching for. So in this upgrade, what we've done is when I click into it, instead of just typing, we're actually going to start showing you the list of options, and you can scroll through those options. So I can still come in here and start typing and find my option and pick it. But now by default, as soon as I click in, it's going to start showing me a whole bunch of options that are there. So I could theoretically start scrolling through, or I could type and pick the options that I want. And so it just makes it a little more intuitive. Now, you also have some personal control over how many options are displayed at a time. So if there's lots and lots of options, I can keep scrolling to see them all. But if I only want to see a small amount at a time, or I want to see more at a time, I can do that. I can change that if I have access to my personal settings. I can come in here and we have this option here for autocomplete number of records displayed. So I've said I only want to see 10 records at a time, and then I can scroll to see more and more, but theoretically I can change that. And this is also, if you've never seen this before, where you can pick how many records you want to see per page on your list views, which is also very handy because some people want to see more records or less records. All right. The next thing we updated was the report builder. And if you build a lot of reports, hopefully they'll find this is a nice enhancement for you. So when you're building reports, so here I go, I got a report here. I'm going to grab this guy. All right, and I'm going to go to the report builder. So this is where I would be building my report. So from here, I've got a data set, and I would click into my data set, and I'm going to pull a field over because I want to report on this field. Now, previously, we would always grab the field name, and we would use the field name to populate this row and also populate the column header. But field names kind of are not allowed to have spaces, and they're not always as readable as you might like. So instead, what we've started now is when you bring that data over, it's going to grab the field caption and display that as the column heading. So this is that way you may not have to come in here and edit this quite so often. So again, that's a little change there, but I think it'll be much nicer. And you can always change it after the fact, but we're going to grab the field caption instead of the field name for the column heading. For CAPTCHA, we did a slight behavior change on the CAPTCHA. And if you don't know what CAPTCHA is, It's the completely automated Turing test to tell computers and humans apart. And so really we use that to make sure that people don't fill in, well, not people, but bots come in and try and fill in forms or try and register as users or that kind of thing. So it usually kind of cuts down on that type of activity. And you'd probably see it on the login page or maybe a sign up page. The setting for that is here. So I go to global settings and I go to security. And if we scroll down, this is where we define our CAPTCHA. So first of all, I define which CAPTCHA type I want. And typically everyone picks the Google reCAPTCHA. Now, depending on your jurisdiction, some countries or some areas may not allow people to actually get out to the Google servers to use that reCAPTCHA. In which case, you can add those here, as I've done here. So I put China in. And that way, if someone is located in China, it's going to serve up the alternate CAPTCHA instead of the Google reCAPTCHA, because I know that some places in China will not allow people to get out to the Google servers. Now, this isn't new. This is what I've always done. But what is new here is that if for some reason we can't detect where the location of the user is, we're going to show them the alternate CAPTCHA instead. Just to be safe, they'll get the alternate CAPTCHA. So, because we don't want anyone to ever come and not be able to fill in a form or not be able to register as a user. So we've made that change just to ensure that they'll always get the alternate CAPTCHA if we can't detect what country they're in, because that way we don't know what jurisdiction to serve up. The next thing was with smart folders, we've added the owner column here. So if you are the owner of the folder, your name will show up there. And if you really want to upload the file, it'll show up there. So you know who's uploaded those files and who's the owner of that folder in case you have to get in touch with that person. So just something that we've added to the smart folders. All right, so those are the things that are going to happen automatically. Now let's go on to the things that are optional. These are the things that you can turn on if you choose to use them. And I kind of prefer these ones anyway. I think they're fun. So the first one is a media library. We've done some enhancements around the media library. So if I come in here, and what you can see what we've done is we've optionally allowed you to, for example, show media right in the list view. So typically you could always see it on the record, but here I am. I'm in the list view. I can view that image. I can now view the video right from the list view. I don't have to open up the record anymore. I can move it around. I can watch it full screen, all from the list view. So if I go into the record itself, here's where I would do it. And again, we have the same kind of ability here where I could move it around. I can go full screen. I can navigate through and still keep watching it. But let me show you how I turn this on. So if I go to configuration mode and I click on my file or my field here, and this is an upload multiple file storage field. And the reason why this one's different and the display is different is because I've turned on, we call it the media library. So it says right here, enable media library. When I turn that on, then it restricts what I can upload to the field, but it also allows me to show images, to play media, like video and audio right there in line. So if that's the first thing you'd have to do. And then we've added another option here, which says enable media thumbnails and list views. So if I've turned this on, and when you go to your list view, like I just showed you, you get to see the videos right there in line and the images. Otherwise, the previous behavior and the behavior this is off is that you would get a comma separated list of the file names. So if you want to be able to see this in the list view, you just turn that setting on and then you'll see it in the list view. The next thing we enhanced was the impact map. It's been a while since we've done any work on the impact map, but I think these are actually quite nice. So if you've never used the impact map before, it's a nice way to show people kind of geographically where your funding is going. Right? So if I'm going to go here to a level 1, and I'm going to go to, this is the level 1 tab, and I'm going to come down here to impact maps. And so if I click on the impact map, here's all the settings for it. I'm just going to preview it. So here I am, I'm previewing my map, and I can see that I've spent $175,000. I can customize this text here. I can go into Boston and see where all my funding is going. I can click on these links to see more information pulled from the system, and I can take this map and I can expose it externally to the system. So I can have put it on my website or a link to it, and other people can go there and view it. They don't have to be logged in necessarily to see this. All right, and I can see different things where the money is going. So let me go back and show you settings here. So we've always had the type and the status, but we've also added the system filter here. This is where we define the amount that you're going to custom field you're going to pull from and how you're going to aggregate it. This is where we define that text that shows up, and then we can define our currency, for example, and even the precision. Down here in the info box, I pick the custom fields I want to show up in that marker, or I can go custom and I can put something else into there. This is the smart folder of which we would hold it, and then we just generate it, and we can get this link to it that I can then share with other people so they can see it. So there's a lot of enhancements around that. And like I said, it's kind of similar to the proximity map. I don't know if you've ever seen the proximity map. Let me just pull one of those up right now. Where inside the system, I can show a map of my where my funding is going as well. But this one is the impact map I can show externally as well. So it's a very nice thing. So this is reports. Again, if I go back to reports, I just want to show you this. So if I go into reports and I go back to the export. So here I am, and I have a report, and I'm maybe I schedule this report to run, and then actually a different one. This guy here. All right. So maybe I've scheduled this report to run, and then and once this report is done, I want another report to run. So maybe I have reports that are doing different things, and I want one to run first, and then a second one to run, and then a third one to run. Now, what I could have done is I could schedule and say one runs at 1 a.m., and one runs at 2 a.m., one runs at 3 a.m. But what happens is there's always a possibility that if one report takes a long time to run, you really don't want that second report to start running until the first one is complete. And so what we've added is this ability to sequentially report export. And what that means is we're going to chain these reports together. So when I export this report, I can pick another report to run right after this one's done. And then I can pick another one to run right after that one's done. So I don't have to fiddle around with times. I just say, okay, run this report, then this report, then this report. And so here's the setting where I can sequentially report export. So kind of daisy chain these together. The next thing we did is we enhanced the line chart. So let me open up one of these guys. Let's see. This one. Oh, no. Un momento. Here, give me 1 second. Yeah, okay, here's what's up. All right, so we've always had the chart custom field, so I can show charts in my applications, for example. And there's lots of different charts we can do. But in this upgrade with the line chart, we've enabled you to be able to show multiple series on the same line chart. So for example, here I've got, I'm on a level 1, let's say a grant, and then I've got activities or level 2s that I'm going to chart. So down here you can see I've got three different reviews, so 3 different activities, and then I've got 3 different custom fields that I'm going to chart here. So this is the custom field 1 and 2 and 3, and you can see those right there. So let me show you how I did that. So it's a field type of special chart, and I picked the data type of records related to the object because I want to show activities. And then down here for the y-axis or the series, you just add the different custom fields you want to show, and then those will show up there like that in the chart, and you can do that right on there. So it's a nice way of maybe showing, again, here I was kind of playing with the idea of people reviewed it and they gave their different scores, and I can kind of see those scores here, but you know, of course you can use it for different things. The main thing here is that you can now show multiple series and add those into the line charts. The only thing to remember about line charts is you can't drill into them. Some of the other charts you can drill in and navigate to the actual records, but the line charts, it's for display purposes. So a few minor updates. We've added the ability to kind of log in or authenticate from the signup page. And let me give you a scenario here. So let's say, we start off with invitations. So let's say that I've got this application and I want to invite someone to contribute to the application. So I come in here to invitations and I say, okay, Mr. Smith, I want to invite you to be part of this application as an applicant. And then I would save and I would invite them. Mr. Smith gets an email that says, hey, do you want to contribute to this application? Excuse me. And he says, yeah, I do. But he doesn't exist in the system. His email doesn't exist yet. So he gets sent to a sign up page. And on that sign up page, he would then fill it in. But sometimes, let's say Mr. Smith already had a user account in our system, and we send it to a different email. He has multiple emails that he uses. Maybe we send it to a personal one, but he uses a different one. So in that kind of a scenario, he can just authenticate himself and attach himself to his existing account. Excuse me. All right, so let me show you how we do that. So I'm going to go to the sign up page. I go to the user sign up page, but this could be an organization sign up page, doesn't matter which one. And on the sign up page, if I scroll down, we've got this new option for display login link on page. Now, if it's a new sign up page and you toggle this on, you'll automatically get this information pre-populated. If it's an older one, just create a new one, copy and paste it in. And this will show you the login, and this is the text you can change. And if we view that, you can see here, someone comes to the sign up page and they already have an account. They can just click on this button that they already have an account, and then they can authenticate themselves in and attach that invitation with their existing account instead of creating a second user account. When you're in a UTA and you want to send an email, we've added the ability to restrict the templates by UTA. So let me come in here now and I'll go to the emails. So here's where we set up our email templates. And so here we've got a template. Now I've always been able to restrict the category of the email templates. So I could say UTA level 1, but in this upgrade, now you can specify it's like this email template's only meant to be used with the submission manager level 1. So I can further restrict that now for when I'm sending out emails from specific UTAs. Oh, we've added the status filter to the customer and branch fields. Let me show you that as well. So if I come into a record, and here we've got the customer field. So I want to say, okay, and you may have called this something else, but by standard, we usually call it the customer field, but you may call it something else. So I come in here, and this is where I'm going to pick that organization I'm going to associate in that kind of a role. And we've always had the categories, so I can say, okay, maybe I can only pick from like nonprofit organizations or some other category here of organization for this field. But what we did add this upgrade is the status as well. So for example, maybe on the nonprofits that are in good standing, and so now you can kind of filter that lookup a little more robustly. So that's a nice to have right there. With checkboxes and radio buttons, let me show you that too. All right. So with checkboxes and radio buttons, again, we use these for usually small amounts of information. You come in and you would check off whatever you desire for this. But then when you came into view mode, what we always showed was a comma separated list of what was selected. Now, if you want, we now made it optional that you can actually show these inputs in view mode and in PDFs. So if I wanted to, I can jump here into view mode, and I can now see not only what was selected, but also what was not selected. And I can do that as well in PDFs. And you can see I can't interact with it because obviously I'm in view mode. So let me show you how. So if I go back into configuration mode, and you can see this is a radio button field. And right down here is the new option. It says show checkboxes and radio buttons in view mode. So if you want them to show up in your PDFs and you want them to show up when you're in view mode, even if they're not checked, you can check that off. Otherwise, you get a comma separated list of what was checked. Now you might say to me, well, Mark, I got a lot of these radio buttons and checkbox fields. I don't want to go to each field individually to turn that on. That's fair enough. So what I would say is you go to your custom field list and you could search up, let's say, my radio buttons. Now, I don't have a ton of them, but if I did, and then you can click them or click them all, and you can go to batch update. And right here, it says show checkboxes and radio buttons, and I can say enable, and I can apply, and that way I can turn them all on in a batch. So that would save you a lot of time if this is something that you want to turn on for all of your radio buttons and checkboxes. The next thing we did is we added, we made it easier really to create custom buttons in your portals. So if you had a banner, depending on the theme, you already had the ability to add buttons really quickly and easily to the banners, but we've extended that ability to other portal section types. So let me jump into a portal here and show you. So I went to users portals, so global settings, users portals. I'm just going to go into the sample portal I have here. You might be on the common role, which is most likely because that's good practice. And I'm going to preview this. All right, so here you can see I've got a button that was set up in a banner. We could always do that. I'm going to go to a different one here. So now I'm going to go to another template. And here I've got down here, this is a list view. Now it's a list view. I've got images in my list view. You may not, but you can see I've created a button in here. And I want to show you how I did that. So I'm going to go into configuration mode for the portals. And I'm going to go into this list view section. So here I am in the list view section. So you can see the type is list view. And right down here, you can see I now have this option for buttons. And I can create a custom button here really easily. So I hit the plus, and I go to the URL lookup, and I say, well, what do I want to make? Well, this is a list view, let's say, of grants. So I'm going to say in my submission manager, I want to be able to create a grant right from here. So I do that, and I say, create a grant. And I would save it. And now at that point, I didn't actually save it, but if I did, you would see that button right here, create a grant. And so now I can show the list view and give them an option to create a grant right from there, or edit their profile, or some other activity that you want them to be able to do very quickly and easily. So that's a nice, easy way to do that. If you're using consumer creation buttons, we've added a new special consumer creation button container, as well as a syntax for showing that. So without getting too technical, for people making these consumer creation buttons, sometimes the visibility logic can get a little complex. And so what we did is we've created this to kind of make that a bit easier. If that does apply to you, then you might want to try out this new syntax with your display text and variables to be able to show that. It should be a little more helpful. The next thing we did was that we're talking about association list views. Now, let me show you what that is, because it may not be evident. So what I'm talking about here is I'm going to my profile, and on my profile, I can see all the activities related to me and all the grants related to me. Now, and if I was on my organization, I could have a lot of grants or a lot of activities associated with an organization. And let's say I've got hundreds or thousands of these, in that kind of a scenario, it can take a little bit more time for this to load in than might be desired. So what we've added is the ability to filter that list to get that list to load in quicker. So I'll show you how first of all, I'll show you how I got this to show up in my profile. So if I go to my UTA here called Submission Manager, and I go to my grant, and you can see right here, this is where we have the option of, I want to show grants on my organization profile, or I want to show grants on my contact profile. And what I can do here, if I want to speed that list loading up, is I come in here and say, well, I only want to show on my contact profile activities that I'm the owner of, or that I'm, the contact on, or whatever I choose. So, and same with this. So you can speed this up by filtering that list with one of these filters. The next thing is a beta preview. So this is just something we're working on. We let you guys see it before it's fully complete, and you guys can try it out and give us feedback. And really, this is something that was meant for like online quiz or something like that. Basically, we're using the question set. So if you've never used the question set, let me back up and explain that. So here I am, and I'm on a level 1. Let's try this one. I'm on a level 1, and I've got a, let's see here. This one, yeah, perfect. So I'm on a level 1, and I'd say I have some questions that I want to ask people in the level 2s or the activities. And I don't want to ask everyone. I only want to ask the people who are making activities related to this one level 1 application. So I don't want to go and make custom fields for all these questions, because I'm only going to use it in this one place, this one scenario. So in that kind of a scenario, I could use the question set builder. What the question set builder allows you to do is, you don't have to be a system admin. I can come in here, and based on the permissions, I can make my own questions on the level 1 that only show up on level 2s related to this level 1. So I've made some questions here. Now, we've always been able to do this, but the thing we've added in this upgrade is the ability to set a correct answer and a score. So first I want to show you that. So if I come into this, it's the special question set builder. You would put this on the level 1 for your grant or your application. All right. And then the new option here is enable scoring. Okay, so I can choose to allow scoring on this now. And what that does is that gives me these 2 columns over here where I can specify the correct answer and a score. Now, I would come in here on my level 1 and I would make several questions that are going to appear on the level 2. Now, maybe I make 10 questions here, let's say. And then I'm going to go to level 2 now, or the activity. When I create that new level 2, I'm going to see those questions that I created. And I can see them right here. Okay, so here's the 2 questions I had made in the other one. And when I submitted it, it actually scored it for me right here because it knew what the right answer was. Apparently, I'm not very good at math, but there it is. So it looked at it, it scored it automatically. Now, there's a couple of new things on this question set. So this is the question set on the level 2 activity. So you can see your special question set, and now I'm on the level 2 activity. We have a couple of new options here. So the first one is the display order. So if this was a quiz, what I can do is I can say to randomize the questions. So instead of having them in the order I've put them in, I can randomize them, show them question 3, then question 1, then question 5, so that everyone who's taking this little quiz gets the questions in a different order. I can also set a limit on how many questions. So even though I made 10 questions, I can maybe only include 5. So all the people who are filling this in get a random set of 5 questions based off of the 10 questions I've created. So that's a new beta feature there. The other thing I'm just going to show you real quick is how I got the score. So what I did for the score is I created a text box number field, and for permissions, I didn't allow anyone to edit it because I'm just going to populate that information. All right, there's nothing special about it other than it's a text box number field and the permission. Okay, and then what I did, and of course I named it. And then what I did, if I go back to Submission Manager and I go into my activity here, I added a template formula that says on my level 2, on the custom field, that text box number I just showed you, which I call test results. So on the level 2, on that custom field, evaluate the score. And what that does is it will evaluate the score and place it in that field. So that's how I did that. Let me show you that again. And again, everything's up here on the wiki. This is a really good source if you've never gone here, especially for the upgrades, because this is the best place to go to find information about that upgrade. All right. So then that's the beta previews. So there's a few notes for administrators, and then I'm going to open up for question and answer. I see we got a few questions in there, so that's looking good. The first thing is we updated workflows. So when you're setting up a connector in a workflow, it used to automatically connect to start, which could have led to configured infinite loop if someone by accident did that. So we've defaulted it to go to complete. So normally you would just pick something else anyway, but at least if you accidentally didn't pick something else to connect to, it'll default to complete so that you don't get infinite loops. The next thing we did was for quick load. If you've never seen quick load, so again, this is talking about, let's say I got a list view that shows 100,000 organizations, right? That's going to take a really long time for the browser to handle that kind of information coming in. So what we've done is if you have this big long list, on the list view itself, we have an option where you can enable what's called quick load. Okay. Now the thing about quick load is if you enable quick load, it's going to load those things faster, but in order to do that, it doesn't sort them and it doesn't show you the total count. So there's a trade-off on doing that. That has already been there. What we added this time was also the option to enable indexing. So to speed that up even more, you can enable indexing. So instead of grabbing that information live, we can grab the cached version of all those 100,000 records and serve that up faster. So that's an option there if that's something that's of interest to you. The other thing we did is we added a total send limit on emails. So this doesn't apply if you're using an SMTP relay. So if you have an SMTP relay, no change for you. But if you're just sending them through your system, there is a total of 25,000 emails that will be sent every 24 hours. So if you've exceeded that, they'll go out in the next 24 hours. It'll just keep it to 25,000. And if you're wondering how many you're sending, you can go here. So menu icon, global settings, communications, and you can see right here your email sent count. Okay, now again, this doesn't include things like password resets, but if you go in here and check this, you can see there'll be a limit of 25,000 per 24-hour cycle. So just be aware of that. And the next thing is the API call. So we're installing a limit on the API call to 1,000 calls per hour for those API calls. So just be aware of that. I believe it doesn't affect people if you're on a dedicated environment, but on the shared hosting, I believe it's 1,000 calls per hour, and then you can do another 1,000 the next hour. And lastly, if you're using the GuideStar search API, which we're talking about settings, integrations, we're talking about this GuideStar search here, not the GuideStar cherry check. They've deprecated their GuideStar, and if you were using it, you should have been provided with a new API key, and this is where you would enter that if you're using that. So that's the upgrade in a nutshell. I'd like to open the floor for questions and answers.
Great, thanks, Mark. That was awesome. So first question, can I replace my vast counties list with an autocomplete lookup that has relevant counties for a region?
If you have that information, I would assume, I don't see why you wouldn't.
Is there a way to get the individual links? So from the CRM dropdown, such as organization or contacts, is there a way to get those individual links back in the header without having to use the CRM dropdown?
If you're talking about, you want the organization, the people up here in the header without putting them in the menu icon. So there's two ways. I mean, first, I just want to reiterate this because I know a lot of people are like, oh, where'd my link go? So for the menu, if I want to show up in here, I'll show you right now. I can global settings, security. I answer both ways. System feature permissions, menu. I can add them here. I can do it through here and just pick the ones I want to show up based on the role. Now, if I wanted to have it show up here, just like other pages, I can also do that. So let me go into a portal right now, and let me just pick a sample one. Doesn't matter really. So right here, I can make a portal page, for example. Let's say contacts, maybe. Sure, contacts. All right, sections, sure. Actually, it might even be. Let me just show you this one. So in here, I'm going to believe I want to do URL. 1 second. Did I go the wrong place? Sure. Oh, maybe I did. Let me think. Did I do the wrong thing? Oh, single page maybe. Yeah, there you go. Single page. Sorry, that's my bad. So single page for contacts. Sorry, guys, wasn't prepared for that. So I can come in here, for example, and I can go people and main list view and apply, and I can save that. And now what I would have here, if I preview this, let's see here, I got contacts, and I click my contacts, here's my people search. So that's a really easy way. I just put the contacts in there. Hopefully that kind of made sense. I know I kind of stumbled a bit, but I mean, that was a really easy way to see a list of all my contacts, and I can now search them there. I can do the same thing with organizations. What I could even do is I can make that a submenu, and which would be then a drop down, just like I have. These are called submenus, and I could put my contacts and organizations in one called search here, and I can service that to anybody I want based on roles. So I don't know if that's helpful. I'm going to answer the question, but those are two ways I can get all that back.
Great, thanks, Mark. Is there a way to make links like already have an account or login format a little bit more noticeable? And this might be a question that is better answered offline, but.
Yeah, so I assume already have an account login. So we're talking about the sign up pages. So if I come in here to users, sign up pages, and we go over here and we view it, we're talking about this. Now, right now it shows like that, but I can show you, I mean, because I'm using the, where is it here? I'm using the default page layout. Now, if I went to custom, I don't usually recommend doing this, but in theory, if I went to custom and then I go to templates, you can actually see the template here itself. And you could then modify it any way you want, and you can add any CSS or anything you want to actually change its look and feel. I don't normally recommend it, but it is possible if that's something you really want to do. But I do kind of recommend everyone stick with the default, because that way, if we have any changes to it, it automatically happens. As soon as you switch over to custom, then you kind of have to make sure you're maintaining it in case something changes in an upgrade.
Thanks, Frank. For the lookup autocomplete, is there another way to change the number of record displays for lookup fields in an application for a specific user type? For example, applicants, instead of going to a user's personal setting?
I'm not aware of another way to change the amount. I'm not aware of another way. When you click it, you'll get an amount that can show, and they can scroll through it. I don't think you can control it other than personally, in a personal setting.
Okay. Can you show us, again, where in the email template you added a new user in the UTA?
The email template. I understand this one. Email template. So email templates, I'm going to go there. We start there. So email templates. So here's the email template. Is that what we're talking about? And then what I did was I categorized the email. So I said, okay, here's where I set where this email template can be used. If that's what we're talking about. I don't know if that's for the questions or the after. So
for that user, if you want to if you want to reach out to us again after this call, then maybe to our support team, they might be able to look. Oh, that is the one.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, if you have any trouble with these things, again, I encourage you to reach out to support and let them know. They can walk you through this stuff. We've got people standing by. They're nice people.
Absolutely. Yeah, our support team also likes to hear from you guys, and we know that after the upgrade, sometimes the changes sometimes need to look into your system. So yeah, definitely feel free to give them a call. I think that's currently all the questions we have. So
thank you too.
Yeah, I'm just going to, like we said, here is the support email. So yeah, if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to them. And a recording of this session will be sent to you all. Thanks to Mark and everybody else for joining us today. We hope you had a great, hope you enjoyed the session, and we'll be talking to you later. Thanks, everyone.
Good day.